If you've read 100 books this year, or not even finished one, these are the 4 best books I've read this year that I believe will fundamentally improve the way you see yourself and interact with those around you. And these are some of the best books that you can give someone as a gift for Christmas to improve their life next year. Hi, my name is JD Whithelm, and I believe in helping young adults build financial and relational wealth in order to bless others. So, if you only watch the next 30 seconds of this video, I want you to remember this. Start with why. How great leaders inspire everyone to take action by Simon Sinek. I've learned so much over the years from the wisdom of others condensed in books. The ideas that Simon shares in his first book are some of the most formative that I've ever read. At its core, the fundamental point he's making is that you can't build anything of significance without understanding the underlying why behind it. A key quote that stuck with me: people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Over the course of his book, Simon shows how our biology is hardwired to work from why first, and gives case studies of how different iconic leaders and companies like Martin Luther King, Costco, Southwest Airlines, and Apple have demonstrated the effectiveness of this approach. This book was a major inspiration for me to start this channel and share these ideas with you as I continue to more fully understand and refine my own why. Simon also has some incredible TED Talks and interviews here on YouTube, and if you somehow have not seen them, they're well worth your time. I'll leave links to my favorites down below. Also, I'll have links for all 4 of the books I'll talk about here in the description as well. The second book taught me skills I apply on a weekly basis, both at work and in my personal life. If you or someone you love work in the service industry in any capacity, this book will help you engage with and handle challenging guest interactions more effectively. It's going to give you the perspective to diffuse those dynamics that would often result in that dreaded phrase, "I want to speak to your manager." Never Split the Difference: Negotiating as if your life depended on it, by Chris Voss. The former head of the FBI's hostage negotiation team teaches you and me how to apply the same framework and techniques that work in the hostage negotiation to all the countless other negotiations we find ourselves in on a daily basis. His firm now does business consulting, training leaders how to negotiate more effectively. Spoiler alert, one of the main keys is developing and applying empathy. But the phrases and approaches he presents are really helpful to practically apply that to your normal life. I read this while I was still working as a front desk concierge at Disney, and I immediately saw it improve the way that I was able to handle delicate guest situations, and the frequency with which the solutions I presented were positively received. Here's one of my favorite techniques that I've learned and use on a weekly basis in my current job as I'm trying to get leads I'm developing finalized. I use one of the questions he offers directly in the book. Are you no longer interested in pursuing a partnership together? It's simple, short, and always gets a response that leads to resuming the conversation, usually within less than a half hour. And that almost always leads to securing the partnership. Outliers: The Story of Success. Malcolm Gladwell does a wonderful job of telling story after story that showcases how success might not actually look like what we think it does, and that the path to get there is both understandable and not what is often presented to us in school. All of his books are great, but this is a wonderful one to start with. It's enjoyable simply for the investigative journalism style he applies in telling these stories. But it's also filled with lessons about how to shift our perspective about what success actually is. I won't say anything else here, just because this is one where half of the joy is simply the process of how Malcolm Gladwell writes. But I promise you'll enjoy it. Lastly, Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. This is probably the most relationally transformative book I've read. You might feel like the topics of my first 3 recommendations aren't as relevant for you, but all of us have relationships with other people. In her work as a researcher studying shame, Brené Brown started to observe a common theme amongst the people she interviewed who all experienced the least shame and lived the most whole lives. Over time, she learned it was vulnerability. Now, this topic has become a bit of a cultural buzzword nowadays, which is good, but can also cause some of the value to be watered down. So I encourage and invite you to learn directly from the source of much of that conversation. It is scary allowing ourselves to be truly seen and not just put on a mask, but is the only path to truly meaningful and worthwhile relationships. So it's worth it, in spite of what the critics may say. So I'll close with a quote from Theodore Roosevelt's Citizens in a Republic speech, which was a big impact in Brene Brown's life. The credit goes to the man in the arena, who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails while daring greatly. So yeah, those are the best 4 books I read this year. Start with Why, Never Split the Difference, Outliers, and Daring Greatly. I hope they add as much value for your life as they have for me, and I challenge you to not just hold on to them for yourself, but also share it with someone else. Thanks for watching.